Hey everyone, welcome back to On the Fence Movie Reviews. This is Real Talk. So guys, what's up? How's it going? I know we've all been on lockdown, so we haven't done this in a while. So it's a long time. So how you guys been? How you been holding up in the during this whole shelter in place?
You know what, Adrian? I've been holding up just fine, holding down the fort over here, and yeah.
I'm doing good. It's good to be back. I actually haven't been in one of these videos in a while.
That's because Adrian didn't want you to take his spotlight. That's why.
Okay.
I have no
Yeah.
spotlight.
I've been in behind the scenes, so it's feel good to be back on the camera.
Well, I'm just happy to be here. Thank you guys for letting me join you in your fancy equipment and, and my Stone Age iPhone that's like 5 years old.
The fancy iPhone you got there, Adrian.
It's not even 16 by 9.
Yeah, and my baby somehow escaped, and now she's joining us for the
Great. Well, she probably has a better outlook and opinion about what we're going to talk about than you do, so you can just go ahead and leave her on.
She probably does. Yeah, but we got a lot to cover. I mean, when the thing first started, there wasn't a lot going on, but we have a lot of news that just dropped. My kids come running in there now.
Come on, Mama. Come on, Mama.
Okay. No, so we have the whole war between AMC and Universal, and then I believe it was just this last night that Regal kind of jumped in the fight. So for those of you that aren't aware, basically what happened is Universal decided to release Trolls 2 on straight to VOD, and that kind of was like a big no-no for a lot of the exhibitors of movie theaters. So they didn't like that too well. So AMC kind of fired the first shot, and now we got this whole thing going on. So what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Janny, go ahead and you have kids, so go ahead and give your thoughts first.
It's pretty interesting how this is gonna play out. I'm trying to figure out like who has the upper hand. Because they both need each other, so that's the thing. They both need each other, and it's gonna be interesting how they how it's gonna play out. I want to say the movie theaters probably have a slight upper hand, because even though VOD, like the Trolls did pretty good and stuff like that, they still make more money. They will make more money off of movie tickets and off people going to the actual movie theaters. Because you think about it, if you get a family of 4 going into a theater, that's like what, like almost like $70, $60. Whereas if you're watching it at home, it's only like, I think it was only like $20 or something like that, like for Trolls.
Yeah,
so
the rental fee, actually, because you can't even own it on VOD quite yet. It's the rental fee, which they dropped, was $20. So,
and another thing too, and I think another thing they might take into account, the movie studios, is piracy, because it's easy, since it's online and digital, it's easier to get it off of digital. So you also get a lot of people that are
right,
downloading it and stuff like that.
Well,
so that's another thing too.
Yeah, I was listening to as we all pretty much do, we all listen to other kind of YouTubers and podcasters, and I was listening to, I believe it was John Campia, and he was saying that that piracy's actually gone up. Like, not
really?
It's gone up to 60%. That it's actually gone up from where it was 60% since they've closed down theaters. So I mean, that's, you got to think about stuff like that too.
Because once they go on digital, like Daniel said, it's a little bit easier to pirate, and then also too, it's like, some of the videos have been only available for rent.
Yeah.
And do you really want to pay $20 just to see it one time?
Nope. I want to pay $20 to own it on digital and
well,
hard
exactly.
copy.
So it's like, and if you have the know-how and the ability to do so, they're going to pirate it. But yeah, like Daniel said, it's like it's harder for a working class family and to afford to go take their whole family to the movie theater to go see these films and stuff. So I can understand it. And the thing is with this, Universal was looking at it from a business perspective. You have, okay, we can release it now and collect and keep somewhere around 80%, I think it is, of the total amount versus somewhere between like 55 to 65 with their arrangements and agreements with the movie theaters. So they're thinking, okay, we can collect more money. And so when they released the numbers right before, I think it was the day before AMC had announced that they were not going to play any Universal films anymore, they had said, pretty much that they're actually a little bit more profitable with the film being released. And so, I don't know how it's going to play out, but my thing is right now is with AMC. And I got to ask you guys, just because I'll give my thoughts on it right now, but with this whole thing, this whole fight, do you guys feel that AMC and Regal are in the right, or do you feel like Universal is making the right decision?
I mean, for me, I feel like the relationship between movie studios and theaters, it's a beneficial for both sides. Even though, right now Universal's, I feel like they're maybe profiting a little. Well, they're obviously profiting way more than the theaters, but when theaters open up, you have to think like, okay, so just like how we're seeing that people are pirating, once they come out, on VOD, or you could rent them from your house. Once that happens, it's easier to be pirated. I maybe not with Trolls, but eventually I feel like maybe with like a Fast and the Furious type movie where something along where that's going to be your huge moneymaker as far as worldwide box office, where it might kind of bite them in the butt when it comes to stuff like that. I think like they need to find some kind of middle ground and realize that at the end of the day, movie studios, I feel like, I'm not going to say don't need the theater, but they will most likely survive the theater if the theaters, go under. Because that's actually something that's coming up now, is like, will theaters survive everything that's going on? But we know that movie studios will for sure survive. But I feel like it's kind of like a give and take between the theaters and the movie studio. Like, probably the movie studios more than likely can survive without the theater, but you have to think like you are kind of biting off, maybe not you're biting off your whole arm, but you're biting off a hand, and that's still money that's going to be lost. I don't know, what do you think?
Well, there's one thing I want to kind of piggyback what you said as far as like the numbers. You said they're like, it was more profitable for them the Trolls to release on VOD.
Yeah,
I think that's a little deceptive because they got to take
domestically. Domestically for sure. I mean, if you go deeper into the numbers, they haven't quite hit it yet. But I mean, you got to take into account it costs them less to advertise. It costs them less as far as like the split that they have to give with the theaters, and so overall, like eventually a little bit further down the line, they're gonna hit that number, and it's comparable. So it's actually slightly, it's not by a lot, but it's slightly better. And,
well, I was saying those numbers might be a little deceptive because the difference, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, so everyone's at home.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So they got a lot of people got nothing really to do, and it's a new movie.
Well,
and
then especially you got a lot of kids because they're not at school right now. They're all at home. Parents, well, we got this new movie, this new Trolls movie. My kid loved the first one. Let's play it just came out. Okay, we'll rent it or buy it or whatever and watch it. So yeah, I agree. You have to kind of take that into account.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So like a lot of these families who have otherwise, if it wasn't on VOD in theaters, it's like they were not going to pay $70, and that's not even taking into account concessions,
Well,
like,
yeah,
and it's
I
like,
mean,
oh, $20, we got nothing else to do, so let's rent it. So
yeah, and my thing is the whole issue with NATO. And for those of you that don't know what NATO is, that is the North American Theater Owners Association. So it's kind of like a union for all the movie theater chains. And they were kind of like, they talked with a lot of the other studios saying, and they sat down and kind of, how are we going to get through this? How are we going to figure this out? But one of the things is Universal kind of basically left NATO in the dark. And so when they did this whole thing and kind of didn't honor that time honored tradition that's been around for decades, the whole 90-day window before they release something on VOD or home video, they took it as a slap in the face. So I think what AMC did, and I'm pretty sure they were in conversation with Regal and probably some of the other chains exactly through NATO, and they kind of like stood in solidarity and said, this is what we're going to do. And Regal, I believe they said it today in a release today, saying we're not going to go as far as to say that we're never going to play Universal films, but if those films that they release are not honoring that 90-day window that we've had in place for decades, we are going to not play those films. So, me personally, and I've worked for a movie theater chain, and I've been in management there, and and I've actually been to NATO gatherings and I met a lot of the people there. And so it is, a very kind of a community. And so when they stand together, they're going to stand together. So I could see other theater chains joining in the fight here and saying, we're not going to stand for that, because again, you kind of have to protect your own interest, and you have to say, this is how we're going to survive. If they don't want to honor us, we're not going to honor them. And I think that's basically what it comes down to. And, me personally, I think with what's going to happen, Universal said, they're now thinking about only releasing some of their films in theaters and stuff like that. So that's one of the things I also wanted to talk about, because my thought is if other studios start kind of taking notice of this, where they might make just as much money, if not more, by releasing films at home, could we see, a change where they only get those big major budget films out and everything else goes to VOD? So you got films like Avengers or Star Wars or something like that, right? Fast and the Furious are the only films that we're going to get in theaters, and a lot of the other ones, and maybe even some of those Oscar-worthy type films go straight to VOD. I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that's a possibility. Like you mentioned, like the big budget movies, the big blockbuster movies, those for sure, you cannot take those out of the theaters. Those are money making machines. I think where certain movies that would benefit is, again, going back to like a movie like Trolls, like it's a family movie. I think those type of movies would benefit more being released on VOD and home.
Some of them, honestly, some of them, not all of them, because again, I worked in the theater, and so having the knowledge of seeing like the numbers come in, as they're coming in, and a lot of like, especially like the Pixar films, those films you have to release in the theater, because something like Trolls, where you're probably going to only make maybe like 40 to 50 million opening weekend, and then it's going to die out 45 to 50% week by week. So then your total is going to come out to maybe 150 to 200 domestic through your total run, and then after you count in all the overhead and costs, and what's your total, So when you look at your VOD release, a smaller budget film like that might benefit from VOD. But when you look at the bigger ones, like the heavy hitters, like we're talking about, Pixar, exactly, and then and even like the Minion films, those ones make a lot of money. So I could see those ones still going into the theaters, but the other ones,
right.
I like, say for instance, like what was the recent one, Abominable, or Dominable or whatever the
Yeah, it's
snowman one.
abominable.
A domino.
I know.
Good
I'm
God.
twisting over my words here. That one, that one wasn't a big money maker, so it might benefit from being VOD. So I don't know. I mean, Rob, what are your thoughts?
This is what I think, Adrian. If AMC or Regal or anyone wants to hire me, I am. Well, here's the thing. Is I've not worked for the movie industry, but I've given the industry a lot of my money.
A lot of your dollars.
Yes, I frequent the theater quite often, and this is what I think. I think that when you have a movie studio, like, I don't think it's going to be as simple as like, oh, well, we're going to give you guys these blockbusters to the theater, but these movies we're going to release to VOD. I feel like the theater might push back against that, because even though maybe the studio feels it's more profitable for them just to release it to VOD, the theater wants those movies because they want the concessions that go with those movies, and they want some of those that money from that ticket that goes to the movie. So I don't think it's going to be as simple as, okay, well, the theaters are going to decide, okay, well, you're getting Fast and the Furious, and you're getting, Disney X movie, and Pixar.
Well,
this
I
movie.
mean, they might, but again, sometimes, with the agreements, when you go into negotiations with the studio, when you're going to try to lock in however many prints you're going to get per film,
right,
for your location.
That's not, if I was.
But the thing is for instance, I remember working there, and we had to keep a film like The Hobbit in our big theater room for like 2 weeks. Now, if that film doesn't do as well as you think, and it has to stay locked in because of an agreement,
right?
You're losing money. So what's going to happen is, if the theaters are going to say, if like what happens, like what you're saying, right? We're not going to play your movies because you're putting only certain ones, but we want those films for our theaters. Then I think what I could see happening is the studios coming back and saying, okay, well, if you're making us play these films, then you're going to have to lock in this film for 4 weeks or whatever.
Well, I mean,
so you could see the back and forth that may
Disney.
happen.
Like, Disney does that. Anytime Disney has their movie released, they
Yeah.
demand the best theater, and they demand so many weeks. So I mean, that's already that's kind of happening. It's just not with all theaters. I mean, we know for sure Disney does that, but I mean, I just don't see, like, it's kind of, I feel like it's in negotiations. I don't know who's going to negotiate, with the theaters and the movie studios, but I feel like that's something for the theaters' benefit, that they should be like, no, we need, we don't want your A and B movies, we want your C and D movies too, because that's going to bring us money.
Again, but that's kind of my point, is that if they make that demand, the studio's going to come back and say, well, you're going to have to keep this film in this size theater house for this many weeks. Then that might in turn, hurt the theater, because if you're forced and you're losing on seats, because what a common practice is again, what we do is house swaps. So if if a film is outperforming and another film is underperforming, you switch houses so you can get that other theater, or get more tickets to that overperforming thing, and that one that's underperforming you put into a smaller house. But if you're locked in and you can't do that, then you're kind of screwed as a theater owner. So I think that's kind of going to be the battle going back and forth. That's kind of what my point was.
Well, sorry, Adrian, we didn't all work at the movie theater.
Yeah, we didn't work at the movie theaters all the time. No, I mean, obviously, you have more knowledge when it comes to the inside of how a theater and how that stuff works. In my opinion, I just feel like if I was a theater owner, I'm not saying these movies have to be in this theater for this many weeks or anything like that, but I feel like that's kind of a risk you almost are willing to take. Like, okay, like, if Disney tells me I have to have their next Pixar movie in my main theater for 2 months, but I'm gonna get these other smaller movies from them instead of them just going straight to Disney Plus, then I'm willing to take that, because chances are I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna make money off of that. I feel like it's more like you got to weigh what movie it is and the risk, and make it, your best educated guess whether or not you think that movie is gonna be beneficial for you to keep in the theater. But I do think theaters and movie studios need each other. Maybe one more than the other.
Well, it's
but
a symbiotic relationship. They need each other. Yeah, you're right. I think they do, because at the end of the day, they need, that's how they make a big bulk of their money. I mean, Avengers. Do you think Avengers would be as big as it was if if it went straight to VOD?
No chance.
Nope.
And honestly, in my opinion, you have a lot, obviously, like back in the day when films were coming out only in theaters, right? And you had like these kind of event films, like you think of films like Jurassic Park, and we just did a review for Terminator. Those things, they become so popular that they kind of stay in the popular zeitgeist of the community, right? Where, nowadays you have, like, I would kind of say it's like little communities of online streaming stuff. Like, so yeah, you might have like a group of people that are fans of this film or that film, but you don't have like the whole community of people talking about this one film, because my kid keeps escaping and coming into the room. But yeah, no, so you don't have that anymore. So I think if something like that, where if it was straight VOD, not everybody's gonna watch it, in my opinion. I think because you don't have that event and that communal experience. Like, so people eventually get to it or get around to it. And then also talking about piracy, it probably would have been pirated like crazy, and it would have never touched, however many, billions it made, so.
Yeah. Definitely.
But anyway, I don't know. So, I mean, we'll see. In my opinion, I think that's more or less what's going to happen. We're going to see only the big films because those are the money makers. And, I think,
let's also not forget the fact that we're I know me personally, and I know Adrian, I'm pretty sure Danny as well, we're hoping that the theaters don't go under because of everything that's going on, because that's still something that could happen, and that would be devastating to the movie to the movie community.
At worst, I think what's going to happen is movie theaters will just become like a niche thing where it's you're going to see one here, and then the next closest one will be 20 miles or 30 miles, however far it is, especially here in LA, because feels like there's one in at least one or two in every city, and so they're not too far away and hard to get to. But you can imagine if all of them close and you have to drive like 3 cities over to get to your closest theater.
I know my closest theater is only. Closest theater is only like 3 minutes away. Like
yeah. I mean, the closest theater to me, which is an independent theater, is literally like 3 to 5 minutes away. Like, I can practically walk there and get there within 10 minutes by walking from where I live.
You're lazy, so you don't walk. So we know you take your car.
No, because I don't want to get jumped or beat up. Because most of the time when I go to the theaters, it's late at night. So.
Well, I thought you live in a nice neighborhood, huh?
I do, but once I cross into that like downtown area of the city, that's where you get a little bit sketchy.
Talking trash about your city, huh?
No, I like my city, but anyway, let's move on to our next quick topic. The Oscars, they made a change, among this whole pandemic, and so their Oscar change is they're going to allow VOD films to be nominated for Best Picture, with one stipulation, which that is that those films that went to VOD had to have had a previous sort of engagement to be, or a release date to be released in movie theaters. So I think, in my opinion, that's the right move, because there are some films that kind of lost out on that. But what are your guys' thoughts on this whole change?
Well, I'll be, it's not really too much to say about this, except I think you're right. It is the right move, but sometimes the Oscars don't do the right move. So them to actually do this, I think is good, because it shows that they're willing to change. And I think especially now with a lot more, I guess, as far as what movies do in certain categories, and I feel like maybe that'll open the door for other things. So I'm glad they did it. I think it was the right thing to do, and I'm it's good for them, and I'm glad for the movies that they will possibly get their recognition when it comes to award season.
Yeah.
I agree, pretty much.
Yeah, good stuff, Danny. Good stuff.
That's very insightful. He gets deep sometimes, man.
That's why we pay him the big bucks, Danny.
That's why we pay him the big bucks. Well, here's the thing. Like I've seen some people like that are like film pundits that I follow. Some of them were kind of upset and kind of like, oh, the Oscars is still BS, because they're kind of on the fence of on the side of the fence where they believe that Oscars should be already including Hulu and Amazon and Netflix films without having to require that theater release stipulation. And they're
baby steps, man. Baby steps. That's all I say is baby steps.
Well, I don't know what side of the fence you guys follow, but me personally, I look at it like this. Like, the Oscars have been like this, they've been around for almost 100 years now.
Dinosaurs.
True, but again, it at what point do you constantly change? To me personally, I feel like you have to keep it. That's one thing you can't change. I feel like you have to keep it, a theatrical film, because these are theatrical awards.
Yeah.
And if we're just can we, if we change it that much, I mean, should we just then start including these theatrical films for Emmys too? Like, I don't know, because
I agree. No, I definitely agree with you, and that I feel like if you just start adding streaming services, then you're opening the door for more people to complain, as far as maybe a movie I didn't see on Netflix that maybe a majority of people thought oh, well, it should be nominated for Best Picture or whatever the case may be. But it makes me I like that it needs to be having stipulations as far as for a theatrical release, because that makes a studio, whether it be Netflix or Amazon or whoever it is, that makes them say okay, well, we have faith in this movie and we're gonna put some money. I mean, we're gonna put this movie in theater and put some money behind it. So that I agree with that, because you don't just want anything being Oscar, kind of, oh, well, this movie should be Oscar even though it wasn't that good.
Yeah. Daniel.
Well, I mean, I really, to be honest, I'm not into the Oscars. I have a sour relationship with the Oscars. I don't really care too much about the Oscars, to be honest. I stopped watching after a while when I started to notice a few things. So I mean, this whole topic. I don't know if you can tell.
I agree with you there, Daniel. And what's funny is that following these pundits there, they're so angry at the Oscars for not willing to budge on that sort of thing, and Oscars this and that, whatever, the whole Oscars so white thing and the diversity thing and all these other things. But they get angry, and then the Oscars aren't whatever, and then when the night of the Oscars, all they're doing is talking and tweeting about the Oscars, and they're so excited. So it's like, I don't know. I'm like, what side of the fence are you on? Do you hate the Oscars or you love them? I don't know.
Another thing too is that I noticed in the shows now, they're becoming more political, and it's just during acceptance speeches, and I'm like, I really don't care about this, so I'm like, okay, I just tune out. So that's what I'm saying. So
yeah, I mean,
this whole okay, good.
What's funny is that the last year, I actually thought it was okay without the host, because a lot of times the hosts aren't that funny, and then they, like what you said, they constantly make either a political joke or whatever, and it's just I don't know. To me, I'm just there for the movies. I don't really care which side of the fence you fall on.
The whole point of going to the movie theaters is to escape reality and stuff like that. And there's a lot going on in this world, and the last thing you want to hear is this when in entertainment is this someone's political view, and it's I don't really care. I mean, if you do believe it, that's cool or whatever, and if you believe something else, that's cool, but I just want to enjoy movies, and that's all I'm here for.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you guys something here. Now, I don't want to ruffle feathers, but if I do ruffle some feathers, then so be it. Here's my thing. So I get, like, everyone's allowed to have their opinion and all that stuff, and I agree with that. The Oscars is not a place that I want to hear your opinion politically. Uh, I want to know about the movie. And honestly, I feel like it's very cheap to try and voice especially a political opinion at some place where we're, kind of we're looking for movies, and we're looking to see the advancements in movies, and people win awards and get their awards, and I think it's really cheap to try and um, squeeze your personal agenda politically in there, or even if it's just something that is political, or unless it's about the movie or a funny story that happened on set. And I don't. That's all I want to hear about. I don't want to hear about the rainforest, or the solar flares. You do that.
How we need to be vegan, like what's
you
the
do that
name?
on your own time with your own money.
Well,
Let me
yeah,
watch
exactly.
the Oscars.
That's kind of to me, like, I get where some of them are coming from. Like, some of them may make good points or not, whatever. But like, and I also get, like, they feel like it's a platform, therefore I should use it. But at the same time, when you're given such, wealth, I mean, you can pretty much call any newspaper or media outlet and say,
Yep.
I want to have a press conference, or I want to,
or Twitter.
I want to have an interview and talk about my thoughts. Can you guys run this on your every channel that you guys have, whatever? And they could do it, no problem. But again, I agree. It's like, to me, it's just, yeah, I don't really care.
This
I just
is
want
what
to
I would say.
see the films.
If I got up there, if I won some award and I got up there, I'd be like, hey, why don't you go check out On the Fence movie reviews, because they got good stuff going on over there.
Yeah, they do sometimes, not always. Yeah.
Just heads up. Well, just heads up. We have 2 minutes on the conference call, so if you want to go ahead and
wrap it up.
Whatever.
Yeah. Wrap it up.
I mean, you can say what you gotta say, but I'm just letting you know we're gonna get cut off.
We have 2 minutes. We're gonna get cut off. So you know what, guys? All right. Well.
Hey, it's just like the Oscars, the music starts playing.
I'm gonna start playing music right now.
Well, guys, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk. It's been real fun. It's been great. I hope you're staying safe out there, and just doing your best to keep safe and healthy and whatever and whatnot, and trying to stay sane. Rob, Daniel, it's always a pleasure.
Yes, my friend.
Yes.
It is your pleasure to talk to me.
It is a pleasure, yes. So, guys, why don't you comment down below and let us know what you thought of the topics that we covered today, basically the Oscars and the AMC theater fight between them and Universal. And also don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, follow us on Instagram at On Fence Movie Reviews for all of that awesome behind-the-scenes content that we are posting daily.
That's right. And remember, we'll catch you on the fence.